how to make this kind of shape. Actually, it was a die that they wanted to use, and they wanted to trace, Simmer wanted to trace a design because she couldn't find the die for sale and it was out of stock and unavailable. How could she do the same? And she wanted the end result as similar to this one that I have here. She wanted to make a card with the heart cut out with these little pop-up edges around it. Well, rather than trying to trace somebody else's design and maybe getting it in, maybe not, this is, you know, not real exact when you're trying to trace. I did get a trace of it, but if I were to zoom in really close on that, you would see that those little shapes were less than desirable. You know, I'm not as maybe exacting as Leslie would be, but this would not please me to cut these edges, and I just really couldn't get it any better. And why spend time on it when it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to take more time to fix that design than it is just to go back and do my own. So what I did, I started with basic shapes and Make the Cut, just like I most of the time do, because they're there, they're handy to use, and we have a heart shape over there. I'll just kind of move this over here so you can see it. Maybe I'll just open another project here. In our basic shapes, which is this icon about the center of the top toolbar with a triangle, circle, and square, I typed in HE to get a heart. We have several hearts. We have 4 different heart shapes. And you could get whatever shape you want. For this project, I kind of like the heart 3, so I double-clicked to add that. And then you can make that heart as big or as small as you want. I'll change that to nut pink. I'm going to make my heart. Let's see, what size did I make it? It's in the other file, this one. I saved my notes. I made my heart 2.5 inches because that fit my card. So I'm going to go up here with the lock icon and make this 2.5 inches wide and enter. So this is going to be the cutout portion of the card once I get the card done. This will be the window. And now I want to create the little pop-up shapes around it. And to do that, I need to make a shadow. So I'm going to click the 4th icon from the right, which is the shadow button. And you can make that width as far as you want. This is just kind of a guide of where those little pop-up edges are going to go. So if you want them further away from the cutout window, you can make it bigger or smaller. I made mine 0.1 inch and accept. So that goes on its own layer. I'll make that maybe a light pink, just so that I can visually see the difference between the two. Now this light pink one, I'm going to hide the dark pink because the light pink one is going to be something I'm going to get rid of, but I'm going to use it to create, this is a template for adding the little pop-up shapes around it. Now the pop-up shape, I'm going to go to basic shapes and I'm going to use a circle, a half circle. So I type in CI and you see down here is a half circle, so I'm going to double click that. Of course it's going to go to the one, it didn't go to the one I have hidden yet. Okay, and I'm going to flip it using the 3rd icon from the left so it's upright like this. And I want to get rid of this bottom line here. So to do that, I'm going to click on this figure 8 in the upper left corner, click on that 2nd arrow, click on the bottom line to make it green, and hit the delete key. Ooh, I really distorted it. Let's try that again. Undo. Try not to move the line. when you select it and then press delete. Now I have a perfect half circle that I can use. I'm going to click the top arrow to go back to selection mode, and I need to resize this up to a width of 0.25, about 1/4 of an inch. You can use whatever size you want. That's just the size that I used. So now you see that I have this little shape here. Now the thing about wrapping a heart, I would like the left side to be exactly the same as the right side. And to do that effectively, I found it easier just to use my eraser tool. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here on this heart, bring it up to the top of my screen and zoom in a little more. What I want to do is cut this heart in half, and I use this, it helps to have these hearts lined up on one of the grid lines. So then I can use the grid lines as a guide for cutting this heart in half. So I click on the eraser tool, which is the third from the bottom, and I set my size to 0.25, very tiny millimeters, 1/4 of a millimeter. And I'm going to click above the heart on the center grid line, hold the control key, click and drag my mouse to the other side. If you go right to left, you should see those little green lines pop up when you have it perfectly vertical. Well, it's not exactly down the center. If you don't get it down the center, you can always let go and try again. So I'm looking for those green lines to be lined up with the grid line. Then release the control key, release the mouse, and I've got it divided. What I'm going to do is, now that it's selected, I'm going to click on the split icon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th icon from the left. Left click. Now I'm going to left click that half and delete it. So now I'm working with just a half a heart. I'm going to select my little half circle, and I'm going to hold the control key and drag the half circle over the heart until I see the triangle, circle, square. My cursor changed to a triangle, circle, square, and I let go of the control key and the mouse, and we see that these start wrapping. Now I've set my vertical alignment to 100% because I know that that will give me the exact measurement that I set for that shadow, which was a 0.1 inch. And then I change the offset so that I'll take this back to just 1 so you can see where I started. I changed the offset with the repeat button on so that this first one lined up where I wanted these to start. I'm keeping in mind that my center one is I'm going to place by hand to go halfway over here, and I want these to be not too close to the edge to allow an extra placed one there. So I can change the offset here, and I should come back here and well, I can't, so I'll just continue this, but you can use the up arrow, you can watch it wrap around, and you can change the spacing to where you want it. I just wrapped it not all the way to the end, keeping in mind that an extra one I'm going to add by hand to the center. So the things that I'm adding now are going to go on the right and left. So I made my spacing 0.04 inches, a repeat count of 13. I started my offset approximately 38. You can do 40 or whatever percent. And then the vertical alignment I left at 100 so the edges would meet the edges of the shadow that I had made. Spacing 60.3% and accept. So now I have all of my lines, my half circles. I'm going to hold a shift and click the heart as well. I'm going to hold Control-Shift-Click and flip it over, or mirror it. Hold the Control and the left move button, arrow button, until I get these, and right a little bit, till the edges of the heart line up. Click away. And now I'm going to just select one of these little half circles and do Control-Shift-Click and drag, and I'm going to click on that once so I can change the angle of this and drag it down to where it's in a position that I like. It can be slightly overlapping the edge. Once I get it there, see there's a little plus sign that helps me line it up, center it, and I can position it how I like it to look. Control-Shift-Click and use my arrow key to take this one down, and then I'll flip it using the third icon from the left. And again, now I can position it below. And now I'm going to click the left and the right side of the hearts to delete them. Select all of these and join. So now I have those edges to pop up, and I have my original heart that are still centered. And these are going to be the design that I'm going to cut out of my card. So I'll select all of them and join. And again, I can just change the color and get rid of all the empty layers over here. So now that I have my basic heart shape, and I have my little pop-up circles, half circles, I can add the card. So I'll add a new layer. And one thing that I like to do is I like to save my designs that I use over and over. So for a basic card, I can go into Import Basic Shapes and go to My Shapes, where I've saved an A2 card before. But I have CI circled, so I'm going to delete that. Now I see my A2 card. I'm going to double click. And it brings it in. I'm going to change it to light pink. And you can do this by simply drawing a rectangle and adding a score line to the size you want. And now that I have all of this card, I can go back to my default page. I've got a new layer selected. I'm going to do Control-Shift-V. I forgot to copy it. Control-C, copy. Go back to my default page, Control-Shift-V. And I think I'll move the card to the bottom. First, just click the smaller, the two green plus icons, right-click on the layer, move layer to bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to just select that heart, and I can eyeball it if I want. If I usually am not real happy about eyeballing it. So what I like to do, I want it perfectly centered. I'm going to go back here to all categories and square, SQ, double click the square, and half of my card is going to be at A2 size, which is 4 1/4, 4.25 wide, and 5.5 tall. Enter. And I'm going to line that up. I'll click that, and I'll click my. I want to line it up the right side of that with the right side of my card. So I'll just select both of those and type R, so it's right. Now what I want to do is select the heart, hold the Shift key, and click on the black square, and stack it S to put it right in the middle. Now when I remove that, I have my heart window exactly in the middle of this side of the card. Now that I have that, I can hide the score line. And I'm just going to select all of this and join. And this gives me, I'll open the score line. And now this gives me the card that I can cut out. I could get rid of that square I added. This window will cut out, and these will slice, but they won't cut out. And then after I get it all cut out, I just use my fingers to push these pieces up to pop up, and that's where I got this design here. I used double-sided paper so that the inside of the card showed through the cut open window, which turned out nicely.